Okay, the final item of business this evening is a members' business debate on motion 16094 in the name of Bob Doris on celebrating 50 years of Summerston. The debate will be concluded without any questions being put. I invite members wishing to participate to press the request to speak buttons, and I call on Bob Doris. Around 7 minutes. Mr Doris.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and thank you to all the MSPs who have supported my motion to allow it to be debated in the Scottish Parliament this afternoon. My thank you also to the Summerston residents who have joined us in the public gallery this afternoon for the debate. They are members and volunteers of the Summerston Community Environmental Group known as SCEG. Today's motion celebrates the community of Summerston reaching its 50th year, and in particular the efforts of the amazing Summerston Community and Environmental Group to improve and enhance the local environment, but also to help develop and promote a positive civic pride in Summerston. Now, Summerston has been my home for the last 13 years, and it's the only home my two children, who are 9 and 4 respectively, have ever known, and we're very lucky to stay there. There are 3 excellent local primary schools, Caldercoot, Parkview and St Blains, which my 9-year-old son attends. John Paul Academy is a local secondary school which offers so many opportunities for young people locally and beyond. However, I want to begin by speaking of a lady, Mrs Fowler, someone who I never had the privilege to meet and who I understand has long since passed away. Wilma Mather, who's here this afternoon, who was instrumental in establishing SCEG a few years ago, told me about Mrs Fowler. She did everything to help people, Wilma said, always willing to help, to sort out local issues. If someone passed away, Mrs Fowler made sure they got a good send-off. Now, official records don't always capture the rich social histories of communities such as Summerston and the people who make communities so special. I suspect there were a few Mrs Fowlers over the 5 decades of Summerston who did so much to knit a new community together as it grew and expanded from the first housing developments in the area, including housing cooperatives such as Westfield and Invershiel. The Summerston Community Environmental Group would welcome, I know, a social history project to celebrate and recognise the often untold and unwritten history of a community that can quickly be lost over time if not written down and recorded. However, today's debate is about celebrating our current crop of community champions, and I want to name some of them. Wilma and Sharon Mather, Jean Wilson, Simon Baxter, George and Helen Carnican, Vicky Dewar, Janice Ross, Pierre Parrier, Angela Smith, Sam Alwood and Scott Milligan. Thank you, every single one of you, for what you and others do. There is one name that is missing from that list, but who I have specifically mentioned in my motion, and that is Billy Souter. Billy sadly passed away a few months ago. Billy was the beating heart of Summerston. He was absolutely committed to the Summerston Community and Environmental Group because he was absolutely committed to Summerston. Everyone knew Billy. He volunteered for years at John Paul Academy. He was a one-man environmental improvement team, always driven, always energetic and always committed to the Summerston community. I suspect we all know Billy's in the communities that we all represent right across Scotland, people just like that who should be celebrated. His loss is felt keenly by many, and fittingly there will soon be a memorial bench in his honour. I want to comment on the work of the Summerston Community Environmental Group in a very particular way. They are very well aware of some of the challenges that Summerston faces environmentally. As they should, they challenge local elected representatives to improve the local area. However, SCEG also asked the question, what can they do to assist? What can they do to help? And what can they do to improve the local area? It won't surprise many to learn that with 3 primary schools, a secondary school, a retail park with various takeaways and a large supermarket, that litter has become a significant challenge. Their efforts to tackle this have, of course, been to do all they can to ensure that local cleansing services respond timely and as much as possible. But they also organise regular and large-scale community pick-ups. They also think strategic. With the Summerston Retail Park being a particular challenge in terms of such environmental issues, together we are seeking a meeting with owners of the commercial units and businesses which operate from them to identify sustainable and long-lasting improvements. Hopefully that meeting will be scheduled soon. There are other visible signs of the work of SCEG. Summerston and Balloon Summerston in Bloom has been a major success, with large community planters now positioned at various locations right across Summerston, improving the local environment, and they look absolutely stunning in full bloom. In terms of bringing the local community together, there are now regular Easter and Christmas fairs and summer gala days. For a while, it was not always so. The fact that the community now anticipate and expect and look forward to such events is a testament to the success of Skeg. And the Summerston Community Environmental Group have, of course, given a particular attention to ensuring the Summerston at 50 is appropriately marked and celebrated. Those celebrations kicked off late last year with a winter lantern parade, with many children from local schools parading around Summerston, led by a piper. It was a poignant and special event. And celebration will culminate on the 30th of August with a community festival in the grounds of John Paul Academy. Local schools will be heavily involved. There will be musical performances, sporting events, main activities and good food. It will also be a multicultural event, celebrating Summerston in its rich and a diverse entirety. And I certainly look forward to attending. In the time remaining, I want to say a little about the formation of Skeg. When the irrepressible Wilma Mather attended my drop-in advice surgery in Ledgown Hall in Maryhill a few years ago, she was focused, my goodness, she was focused on improving Summerston. Her actions and the actions of other community volunteers following that meeting, actions that I, in some small way, sought to support, led to the formation of Skeg. I knew something special was happening when hundreds of people attended a community consultation event that we jointly organised locally. The views gathered from the community were used to inform the actions that the Summerston Community Environmental Group would take forward, always community-led. The Skeg have two big ambitions for Summerston. So that's not true. They've got many big ambitions for Summerston, but I'll mention just two, Presiding Officer. They want to see improvements to the quality of core paths, both within Summerston and those connecting to other local communities such as Codder and Acre. They also wish to see a large open grass area near St Blaine's Primary to be a high quality and welcoming community amenity, a landscape and attractive area right at the heart of Summerston. With the constructive and can-do attitude of Skeg, I suspect we will see progress sooner rather than later. In closing, Presiding Officer, I wanted to put on the public record in Scotland's Parliament this afternoon the ambitions and successes of some of the current crop of community activists in Summerston. In 50 years' time, when a future generation within Summerston look to celebrate 100 years, they can look back with pride and admiration for those who have went before. Such proud social histories should be recorded, and the dedication of community volunteers past and present should be recognised and celebrated. Let me finish off by offering my heartfelt thanks not only to Summerston Community and Environmental Group for all they do, but to all those volunteers whose efforts have made Summerston a better place to live over the last 50 years.
Thank you, Mr Doris. We now move to the open debate, and I call first Sandis Gulhani to be followed by Emma Roddick. Around 4 minutes. Dr Gulhani.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, and congratulations to Bob Doris for securing this members' debate. And I'm pleased to speak in support of this motion and also to congratulate the community of Summerston on reaching its 50th anniversary. This is a remarkable milestone and one that speaks not only of the resilience of the people who have made Summerston their home, as Bob Doris has told us he has over the decades, but also to the power of strong grassroots community building. In 1974, Summerston welcomed its first residents as part of Glasgow's wider response to housing needs. And what's notable isn't just the physical development, it's the social fabric that quickly grew from it. In the half-century since, Summerston has become the embodiment of what a successful housing estate can look like: civic-minded, environmentally aware, and above all, community-driven. Indeed, I was delighted to be invited by teachers at John Paul Academy to speak to a modern studies class last year. As ever on these occasions, I was so pleased to hear from the younger generation and answer their questions. Another well-regarded facility within the Summerston community is the Glasgow Riding for the Disabled Centre, based at Caldicott Road. Every year, hundreds of children and adults living with disabilities learn to ride and also enjoy the benefits of equine therapy. As noted in the motion, I want to pay tribute to Billy Suter. His passing is a real loss to the community, and from what I've read and heard, he was central to the life of the community, and his legacy lives on in the vibrancy of the neighbourhood today. The work of the Somerston Community and Environmental Group has also been exceptional. Not only has it led real practical improvements to the area, but it has done so in a way that brings people together. The 50th anniversary Lantern Parade, led by a piper and involving local school children, was more than a celebration. It was a statement of unity and a demonstration of the pride people feel in where they live. This success is not something we should take for granted. Glasgow has seen many large-scale housing projects over the decades, some of which unfortunately did not foster the same sense of stability or identity. We only have to think of places like the Red Road flats now demolished, or the long, struggled efforts to regenerate parts of Sight Hill or the Gorbals. These were developments that, despite good intentions, lacked the sustainable community planning that Somerston seems to have had from the outset. And now, as Scotland continues to face a housing crisis, there is an urgent need for both planners and politicians to ask the right questions. How do we build not just houses, but homes? How do we create places where people not only live, but thrive? In Somerston, we have a working model of what can be achieved when community is treated not as an afterthought, but as a central pillar. We need more Somerstons, developments with green space, schools like St Blames, Parkview and Caldicott Primary at their heart, real local engagement and active community groups that help bind people together. So while this is a movement to look back and celebrate 50 years of progress, it's also a time to look forward. I support the energy and dedication of those in Somerston who continue to build something better. And I hope that in 50 years' time, people across Scotland will be looking at many more communities with stories like this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr Gulhani. I now call Emma Roddick to be followed by Pam Duncan-Glancy. Around 4 minutes. Ms Roddick.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and I want to thank Bob Doris for bringing this debate to the Chamber and sharing his very positive thoughts about his community. I'd also like to pay tribute to his passion for that local area. It is wonderful to hear directly from their MSP about all that the people of Somerston have achieved, and it's clear that they have his respect as well as his support. His motion highlights that constructive community activism and participation is a key component in helping communities such as Somerston prosper. And I believe that's true, and I've seen it in many of the areas that I represent as well. This summer, I'm looking forward to my usual packed surgery schedule and catching up with communities that are leading in participation, from the likes of Egg and Knoydart, which continue to demonstrate the value of community ownership as well as participation, to development trusts around the whole region, which are taking control of tackling local issues by building homes, starting up energy developments, and identifying opportunities to take on empty buildings or vacant plots of land. There are countless examples of communities getting it right. Team Hamish in Nairn took the tragic loss of young Hamish and his mother and ensured that the town and the wider area will never forget that family. I've enjoyed and taken joy in seeing others enjoy Phase 2 every time I'm in the town, seeing kids play and eat their ice creams as parents and guardians watch on from the nearby seating. The opening last week of the new Wynn Park saw the city leader, Councillor Ian Brown, highlight that the renovations were the result of collaboration, not just with the council and its partners, but people in the community, including children and young people who took part in the design process. And that's fantastic. Not only because it means that the end result is one that young people actually want, but because I'm sure that taking part in that process now will make it more likely that those people use their voices in future, speaking up and becoming people with real stake in and passion for their community. Where I live in Merkinch, the local nature reserve has been protected and enhanced by community activists like Del McClurg and Carolyn Snow. I know that so many local people were instrumental in cleaning rubbish, planting trees, advocating for its preservation, and it's always been my pleasure to join them in litter picks, meetings with the council and events for nearby residents. It's hard to picture what the area would be like without the Friends of Merkinch Local Nature Reserve. And again, the local primary school plays a part. Children have designed the benches that sit along the paths at the reserve. Bob Doris recognised the wide impact that volunteers and regular community events can have in lifting spirits and encouraging people to feel a real connection and duty to their local area. I think that's incredibly important. When people don't feel a part of things, they are less likely to look after what they've got and build it better. I am looking forward myself to joining the Keswick Ferry Swim next month, and I hope to see many of our own local activists, volunteers and leaders there as well. And I thank Bob Doris once again for sharing with the Chamber the successes of Summerston, and I hope to hear that that community continues to experience the benefits of the work that has been done before and builds on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Roddick. I now call the final speaker in the open debate, Pam Duncan-Glancy, again, around 4 minutes, please.
Thank you, Deputy Presiding Officer, and I would like to thank my colleague for the Glasgow region, Bob Doris, for bringing this motion to the Chamber. It's my honour and privilege to be a member of the Scottish Parliament for the Glasgow region, and in particular to represent part of the area that we're discussing today, Summerston. I'd like to join the commendations of the Summerston Community and Environmental Group for their tireless efforts to raise awareness of support and opportunities in the area, to ensure Summerston is a clean and vibrant place to live, and to organise events that bring the community together. And I would echo my colleague Bob Doris in his commendations to the group on this regard. The group is organising over 30 activities in the area to mark 50 years of Summerston and engage with 500 residents over the course of the 12 months of the anniversary, and I'm sure that they'll get a fantastic turnout to all events from local residents, not least because of the mention of the work that they're doing in the nation's Parliament today. Summerston is full of people who work hard to make the community and Glasgow a better place to live. Whether that's Ryan Rooney, one of the community champions at the Asda in Summerston store, who's a key link between the store and causes that matter to local residents. Summerston Youth Football Club, run by volunteers who make sure grassroots football is available for the children and young people of Summerston, giving them a positive experience of sport that will stay with them for life. The teachers, parents and pupils at the local schools, John Paul Academy, Parkview Primary School and St Blaine's Primary School, and everyone involved in supporting and running Belcraig Community Centre, keeping it a vital part of Summerston over the past 40+ years, as well as, of course, celebrating the past 50 years of Summerston. I'm also asking that members today, as my colleagues have, consider the next 50 years. It's our duty as parliamentarians, and one that I know we all take very seriously, to ensure communities thrive. But what does that mean in practice? To me, it means supporting and growing community assets, including Belcraig Community Centre and hubs like it across the city, so that people have better places to gather together over shared interests and to get to know their neighbours better. And it also means making sure that it is in this increasingly diverse world that we lead by example, to do our best to ensure the communities that we represent are tolerant, peaceful, happy and safe places to live and to grow up. And whilst we may disagree politically in this chamber, the vast majority of my friends and colleagues across the chamber put the politics to one side when the debate ends and we get on personally outside of these walls for the good of communities like Summerston and others. Parliament and the communities in our constituencies would be much poorer if we or our constituents let ourselves be irreconcilably divided by politics and forget that by working together we can achieve more than we do alone. And in fact, as is proved by the many community groups in Summerston, it is the only way to make a difference in this world. So as we get towards the end of the parliamentary year, I hope that members in this debate will leave inspired by the efforts of the people in Summerston, many of whom Bob Doris and others have mentioned, whether that's the commitment, of course, of the Summerston Youth Football Club coaches, the enthusiasm of Ryan Rooney, the dedication of teachers and parents, or the tirelessness of the Summerston Environmental Community Group. I congratulate Summerston on their 50th anniversary, commend the work of everyone who takes the time to make the communities around them better through no other motivation than to see the people around them have a better experience of the world. And I thank Bob Doris again for bringing this debate to allow us to do that about Summerston today. Thank you, Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Ms Duncan-Glancy. I now call on Jamie Hepburn to respond to the debate. Minister, around 7 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. Can I begin by thanking my friend Bob Doris for bringing forward this debate this evening and highlighting the good work that has been done
in Summerston. Can I join him in welcoming those who have travelled from Summerston to be with us here in the public gallery? As with all those who visit this Parliament, of course, they are very welcome. I hope they have enjoyed seeing the good work that they undertake in their community reflected in the debate this evening. And in that regard, I'd very much like to congratulate the entire community of Summerston for reaching what is a significant milestone, 50 years working together for the benefit of those who live in that area, as well as arranging a series of events to mark this anniversary. Presiding Officer, I was particularly pleased to be able to respond to this debate. As Mr Doris would be able to testify to, I cut my teeth in the Scottish National Party in Glasgow Maryhill, which is where Summerston is located, much of it alongside Mr Doris. There are stories that could be told, Presiding Officer, but which will remain untold in this chamber. Well, that's worrying. I'll give way.
Those stories may be about to be told. Bob Doris.
I thank the Minister for giving way. It should tell a story that doesn't involve the Minister, but there are two other MSP colleagues that cut their political teeth in Summerston, and that's Fergus and Annabel Ewing, because as children their dad was elected as a local councillor in 1977, and they still well remember leafleting all the flats and houses in Summerston. I want to put that on the record as part of the cultural and social history of the area.
Minister.
Well, it was a blessed relief that it wasn't one of the stories that Mr Doris could have told, but I think it is appropriate that he remarked upon that. It is appropriate for those of us, certainly on these benches, to reflect on the fact of the contribution of the Ewing family has been great to our party, and Summerston is part of that story. I was going to also make the point that Summerston is a place that is not far from where I grew up, so it is an area I know well, and indeed I not only know that area, but representing a new town as I do, I recognise the importance of milestones. In this case, a 50-year milestone. It's a significant period of time for any community, but for in that sense, 50 years, it's also a period of time that there will be many people who have lived that entire experience, who've lived in this case in Summerston for the entirety of that 50-year duration, and they've raised families, they've had lifelong friendships. So in that regard, it is a particularly important anniversary. It's been heartening to hear how the Summerston Community and Environmental Group has been proactive in improving the area, making a significant difference through the development of a community action plan, a range of community events and ambitions for wider environmental improvements. And it's been nice to hear about the Easter, summer and Christmas community events, which are now a regular feature for the group, and I recognise in particular the hard work that will have gone into celebrating their 50th anniversary through the celebration event that they have put in place. So we know that many community activities that we've heard about today would simply not happen without a range of volunteers by giving their time, in this instance in Summerston, but indeed across the country. Volunteers make a difference in their communities across Scotland. So the hands-on effort of community volunteers in Summerston have helped enhance their local area and improve the lives and well-being of those who live in their area. And it is particularly appropriate, and it's a timely debate that has been scheduled, because this week is Volunteers Week, and I think it's appropriate that we say thank you to those who volunteered in this case, in this instance in Summerston, but indeed in those who give their time in their communities across the country. Presiding Officer, bricks and mortar only go so far in creating a community. Ultimately, it's the people who create a community, and from everything we've heard from Mr Doris, that's certainly the case for Summerston. So it's been terrific to hear about the work that has taken place in Summerston to activate, to engage and to empower local people, and I want to pass on my sincere thanks to everyone who is involved in that effort. It's a great example of what we see in communities across the country. Indeed, I suppose this gives us all an opportunity to reflect on what we see in our own local areas. We heard Emma Roddick doing the same. I see much of the same in my area through organisations such as the Cumbernauld Community Forum, the Cumbernauld Community Garden, Craigburn Community Gardens, and Kilsyth Environmental Group, Friends of Colesium, the Kilsyth Villages Community board. Thank you for indulging me, Presiding Officer, to be able to mention a few organisations in my own area. I don't often get that opportunity when I'm responding on behalf of the Government. But I make mention of them. Yes, of course, they're in my area, but there are examples of such organisations throughout the country, and in Summerston we have a great example in Skeg, and I want to place on record my thanks to them for all they are doing, because the Government has an agenda about community empowerment to enable people and communities to shape services that impact them directly in their area, to shape them locally, and to be involved in taking action to support the creation of successful places across Scotland. That's why we took forward the Community Empowerment Act. That's why we have a range of activity being taken forward to create community wealth building as an approach to economic development. And of course, we've introduced a bill to try and ensure consistent implementation of community wealth building across Scotland. And that is something that people in Summerston and communities across the entire country will be able to take forward. One of the First Minister's priorities, as we know, is to grow the economy, improve public services and to eradicate child poverty. And that starts with a place-based approach. That starts with an approach being developed in tandem with communities, with people like Mrs Fowler, Wilma Mather, Billy Shooter and those others that Bob Doris mentioned as being so involved in the life of Summerston. In that regard, I want to finish by thanking Bob Doris for bringing forward this debate, and once again congratulating the community of Summerston, wish them every success in building on their excellent work to date, and I know that Summerston will continue to flourish for the next 50 years and beyond.
Thank you, Minister. That concludes the debate, and I close this meeting of Parliament.